Well, welcome everybody. Welcome Low Ego Action Heroes. I'm Debbie Levitt from Delta CX and welcome to our every Tuesday Q&A AMA. I am live and you are welcome to ask me absolutely anything. I do have my headphones on because we are expecting a special guest to join us, even if he has to run in the middle and take an important call and then hopefully run back. But of course, before we welcome him, I just want to remind everybody you can get your questions answered at deltacx.com/link. There's a link there. You can also put it in the chat. I'm watching the YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitch chat. And also remind you that if you are a mid-level or higher Patreon at our patreon.com/CXCC, you get priority questions. Yours will always be moved to the top of the list if you add them to our Q for AMA special channel in our Discord. Just a reminder to please join our Patreon. You can join at a free level where basically it's like being on my mailing list, or you can join at paid levels that start at $1 per month, which of course means thank you to the Patreon paid members at all levels who are supporting this channel and all of the content work that I do. Thanks to all of you, and thanks to the free members as well. We just don't put your names up on the screen. There are too many of you. I think we have over 100 free members on Patreon now. So with that, let's bring in our good friend, Dr. Nick Fine, who, as I mentioned, might have to run in the middle of the show and take an important phone call. But Nick, tell us about you.
You guys know me. I don't need to keep introducing myself. But if for any reason you're living under a tree or on a remote island without any internet access, I'm Dr. Nick. I'm a user-centric advocate, something like 15-year UX practitioner, an all-round pain in the neck to people who like to design first and research second.
Fantastic. Usually we have hellos from people, and I'm not even seeing hellos. So if you're out there somewhere, say hello so that we know that this going live thing is actually working. I might need to double check while Nick answers the first question that we are in fact live. Let me check. LinkedIn. Uh-oh, not seeing it. Not seeing it on LinkedIn. Let's check the YouTube. Says live. YouTube, we should definitely be on. LinkedIn, not sure. All right, so either way, we did get a few questions ahead of time. So let's put up the first one, which is why I'm up in. Oh, good. Hi, there is life out there. Thank you so much, Shelly Y. All right, so Nick, our first question is, what's your opinion on creating user personas?
Okay, so user personas are one of these things that have become works of fiction. They've become storage units of narratives, of fairy tales, of invalid information, misinformation, and stuff that people have just generally made up with really good intentions, I might add, but still it's completely wrong. So my opinion on creating user personas is, in order for a persona as a deliverable or as an artifact to have any value, it must be a data-driven entity, a data-driven thing. It must be a container of data. That's golden rule of personas. If it's not real, it doesn't go in there, unless it's a hypothesis and that kind of stuff, but that's fair too. But the point being is I see personas as a data container, as an insight storage unit, as a filing cabinet, whatever you want to call that. Now, most personas you'll see are, like I say, these works of fiction. What's really important about most personas of use are the needs and the pain points and some contextual stuff that's in there. So my personas and the personas that I advocate to create are a much more simplified version of the traditional persona, which is literally title, context, user needs, pain points as a starting point. They evolve from there. There's other bits that go in, but generally speaking, the other really, really big, important, critical point to make about personas is who's using them? Why are you creating them? What are they used for? Now, on Planet Nickster, on Planet Dr. Nick, they are artifacts to go on to the next person in your product team's process. And that person is usually a designer. So my personas and the personas that I would advocate for are those that a designer can pick up and goes, okay, great, those are the needs. I can design to that, or that's my challenge. I have to now work out how to operationalize that need or overcome that pain point. That's the real value of personas that not a single soul has told you. Well, maybe Debbie, but others know. So there you go. That's personas in a nutshell. If you want to see the full-blown version, Google me, Nick Fine, and personas on YouTube, and there's a video from 2018 which I go into all kinds of detail about this stuff.
And so sad that people on Twitch are just spammers. Go away, spammer. We don't care. Okay, so I wrote down a couple of notes to answer this question, but I definitely agree with Nick. In addition to what Nick said, I wrote down things. So I wrote down strategy, decisions, designs, tasks, and problems. If you've made personas and nobody's looking at them again later, congratulations on having personas and some cute things to put up on the wall next to your collection of sticky notes, but you probably don't need personas. If your personas are not being brought back out to help people strategize, make decisions, work on their designs, help users improve their tasks, or solving user problems, then your personas are probably not so good. So what I recommend, what I've been doing, and of course we also have Larry Marine's book, Disruptive Research, which I continue to recommend, not just because I was a ghostwriter, but he also goes into why wouldn't we use personas, and he has something that he calls user profiles, which are extremely task-oriented. I've been shifting more towards behavioral typologies. I would rather, if I'm bucketing and segmenting people at all, I would rather do it by some of their behaviors and perspectives than by, oh, it's a woman, oh, it's a black person, oh, they have a car, oh, they live in Minnesota. You know, I think that there's a lot of garbage left over in some of the demographics that I typically see in personas. If you're in my Patreon, you know I have an article coming out in about 2 weeks about how demographics mostly suck and seem to come from some other era. So we have to stop assuming that all 50-year-old women think the same way, behave the same way, shop the same way, decide the same way. You know, I might be roughly the same age as Nick's wife. I even have the same name as Nick's wife. And we may be extremely different people who might not be in a bucket together for anything. So we have to be careful when we try to boil people down to crappy personas, which are often things related to skin color, gender, age, how many kids do they have, and things like that. So in my opinion, it's not worth creating the personas if they're not going to later influence any of the things on my list: strategy, decisions, designs, improving user tasks, or solving their problems. Nick, anything to add?
Yeah, one quick thing. This is where market research has polluted or confused things in a really big, bad way.
Agree.
If you're doing really big 3,000 sample work, then you might be able to draw that kind of a generalized conclusion, and that's really at a stretch, or if the signal's really strong. But generally speaking, you're going to be working in much smaller numbers, and ideally cascading them and building up and all of that kind of stuff. But you can't make any broad generalizations on those sorts of numbers. You just can't. Bottom line, you know, it doesn't matter if all the women in your sample have a certain buying behavior or all the men tend to do a certain thing. That's that sample. You know, think about sampling in its deepest, truest, and maybe more academic kind of form. You need a genuine sample that ideally represents the entire population. That's not easy to do with 5 people. Or 10 or 20, frankly.
Yep. Definitely things to have some critical thinking and tough love conversations about at our workplaces. We did get a second question ahead of time, so we'll put that one up. But if you have a question, send it on over to deltacx.com/links or put it here in the chat. No spamming, please. Just questions. And we really are. Sometimes I get the question, are we really live? If you are watching this on 9th January at 3:11 p.m. Italy time, yes, or 2:11 or 14:11 in the UK, we are live. So if you're watching this later, if it doesn't say live on YouTube, it's not live. Let's just put it that way. Okay, we have a longer question here, and I do encourage people to sometimes tell their stories so we can do our best to help them out, because this is kind of global free mentoring. And I'm going to read this question out loud. It says, I work as a UX researcher / designer in a company. Been working there for almost 2 years now. Lately, I've been feeling like I'm stuck. I'm not learning anything new. I don't have projects that force me to think outside the box or challenge me. I don't know whose fault this is. I have projects going on and I deliver them on time, but they all feel the same. I don't feel like I'm growing in my area. Is growing something I'm supposed to do outside of my job? Because everything else is fine in the company. I'm happy with people, compensation, etc. It's just the projects I'm working on don't give me any learning opportunities. Is it something I should bring up with my manager? If yes, how? If not, what should I do? Is it normal to feel like this? Is changing job the solution? What if it's next in the same company as well? Oh my God, if you like your job, don't change it. So many people hate their job. If you like it, stay. Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, does this person like their job?
They did. Yes, they said, I'm happy with people, compensation, etc.
Good. Okay, fine. Good stuff. In which case, from my perspective, and this is a very much an individual thing, I can't make any great big platitudes or whatever, I've absolutely felt that way for probably most of my career, or there've been big stretches, and I mean stretches of 6 to 12 months or an entire gig of 18 months kind of thing, where I'm thinking, shit, just think of the money, get out of here, or whatever, right? You're not developing, you're not growing, you're worrying that everybody else is growing and you're not. And that also means that when you go into your next role, when you're asking for more money, that you won't be able to do cool new tricks or anything to kind of generate that value. So number one, yeah, I think it's quite normal. I think it's fairly safe to say. You ought to, in the old world, have a senior or a lead in your team or available to you to give you this mentorship, the coaching, and the support. Bollocks, my wife has just walked in with the tax man on the phone. I'm going to throw this back to Deb, and I'll come right back to you in a couple of minutes. I just have to disappear off cam. Sorry, guys.
No problem. We'll do this. And I will be answering this question a bit and fielding any of your other questions while Nick has to take an important phone call. We certainly understand. So what would I say? There's a lot of questions inside of this one question here. So first of all, should I change jobs? I would say probably not. It's so rare that someone in UX tells me they're mostly happy with their job. They like people, they like the compensation. So I'd probably say changing jobs is not the answer. Should you speak to your manager? Yes, but I probably wouldn't without some sort of plan. Because if you say to your manager, I would like to grow more and learn more here, and the manager might say, great, in what direction do you want to grow? What do you want to learn? And if you go, I don't know, then you look a little weird. Like, I want to grow, but I don't know where or how or in what direction. And so I would say you need to poke around online. Nick, was that really it?
I just gave him permission to talk on my behalf,
which
is great.
Okay, great. Okay, so I was just saying, I was answering pieces of the question in no particular order. I was saying, should they bring it up with their manager? Yes, but probably not without some sort of plan or idea of in which direction they want to grow or what kinds of things they want to learn, because the manager might find it strange if you say, hey, I'd like to grow more and learn more. And the manager goes, great, what do you want to learn? And you go, I don't know. Yeah. So now where can you find out what you don't know? You can always look through higher level job descriptions and see if there's certain skills they're asking for that you feel you don't have yet. If you're a heavily qual research, you could learn more about quant. If you're a heavily quant researcher, you could learn more about qual. Some people are trying to learn more about AI. So there's lots of directions in which you can grow. And if you're not sure, I always tell people, look at some higher level job postings. So if you're mid-level, look at seniors and lead job postings and see, if they're looking for skills or techniques or capabilities or tools that you don't know yet. In general, I don't always expect a job to teach me unless it's been laid out that teaching or coaching is part of the job. So for example, at my current job, I have a student worker who works part-time for me. That person expects to learn from me. That is baked into the situation of the job. It is my responsibility to not just put this person to work, but to semi-teach them. So that person is expecting to learn, and they should feel disappointed if they're not. At many jobs, they might throw you a little bit of budget for conferences or workshops or other stuff, but, how do you use that? And so the question is, in general, I don't always expect people to be able to learn at their job. We're often too busy trying to do the job, and in many cases, there is nobody above you who's made time to be your teacher or coach. There's a lot of questions in this question, but I'll press pause since Nick is back and let him say a few more things. Nick?
Yeah, lovely. This feeling that you have of not growing, firstly, as I always tend to say, go rogue, do it anyway. It would be much better to have a lead or a senior coaching you, or to have your line manager supporting all of this. And that's great. And, to mention a review and all the stuff that Debbie said is really great advice. But you have to learn for yourself. I think one of the things that sets people like Debbie and I apart from the rest of the market is we have varied knowledge, experience over many projects, over many different services, over many different clients over time. Now, there'll come a point in your DIY learning where you're like, okay, this is, I'm going to conferences, I'm reading books, I'm practicing new stuff, I've gone rogue, I'm doing stuff that I want to without permission and doing it safely. Great. But there comes a time when that just kind of wears thin and you're not really getting any value at all. And that is the point you need to start looking for a job. And the reason why I mentioned that thing about Debbie and I and people like us is take somebody with the same level of number of years of experience. Let's say it's 15 in that realm. There are people who have been in single jobs for 10 years or 15 years, which have one way of doing things or a limited horizon. So my point being is that in order to grow, there comes a time when you have to move, because you have to be exposed to a different environment, to different methodologies, to different audience, to different market, different industry, all of that stuff, because that's all really important stuff in your UX toolkit, mindset, whatever you call that. So I guess in summary, do as much learning as you can. Don't wait for permission, do it yourself. But then after a while, even though you love the place and it's good money and everything else, for your own growth, you need to start looking elsewhere just to get new challenges. Good example of this, historically, creative directors who are very creative people, it was expected they'd bounce on every 18 to 24 months, because the nature of the creative is novelty and new challenges, and you can't do that if you just keep on at the same brand. At least that's what I was told. Whether that's true or not, validate yourself. But the point being is that the movement can equal growth, just don't do it prematurely.
Dig it. All right. So we just got an anonymous question in, which means we've got something fresh to talk about. And I'll bump up the font and read it out loud. It says, what are your thoughts on this? Some people say to use familiar design patterns when designing something to avoid cognitive load and can help users achieve their goals quickly. However, some people say that might not be a good idea because this can lack innovation. Oh, I can't wait to set this one on freaking fire. Nick, are you feeling what I'm feeling?
Maybe not quite as ragey, but I'm definitely feeling it. Like, I'm pretty sure that what we're all thinking is innovation for innovation's bloody minded sake over basic intuition and usability is just stupid. Frankly, that's not good thinking.
I know they need a drop-down menu here, but I'm going to put a dancing bear juggling balls, and you have to pick the ball that represents the choice you want. Innovative.
Yeah, exactly. No one's done that before. It's cool. Innovation is one of those things where there's, you could innovate at a micro level, micro interaction type level, I mean, by having a different fade off or a different, you know what I mean, a different delay state, or all kinds of stuff. So throwing the baby out with the bathwater is what this is all about, kind of thing. Like, look, this is about people who want to achieve their needs, their goals, the things that they're there to do. Familiarity and intuition means they don't have to learn anything or work anything out, whereas innovation can be intuitive and even better. You're going to have to spend a lot more time testing to that, a lot more development time, a lot more design time as you iterate to find that uber level of intuitiveness. So yeah, keep it simple, stupid. Kiss. That's the golden rule. We've got way too many people in our world who come from creative backgrounds, and they get all creative with solutions, when actually we want a nice, usable, accessible, not necessarily innovative solution that tests well. Bottom line.
Yeah, and gosh, so much I could say about this one. And thank you to the person who asked the question, because it's definitely the type of thing I've seen debated before on LinkedIn and in other places, which is like, don't we want to be innovative in our UX design or our interaction design? And I say, well, hold on. Let's talk about what we mean by innovative. When we talk about our company having innovative solutions, we're usually talking about the product, the service, the solution, the human interaction. We're talking about introducing something to the public that no other company is offering, which would hypothetically make our company more competitive in the marketplace because we've introduced something so new. Remember, in the word innovative itself is the Latin root nova, something new. If you speak any Romance language, nuova, there's all kinds of, it's new. If it's not really new, it's probably not an innovation anyway. And I think we have to be careful, because there are some people who say, and again, I know where this question's coming from, and it makes sense that, if you use the same old design patterns, you're not creative, you're not innovative. And I say, well, tell me which design patterns you think I shouldn't be using. And I've never gotten an answer to that. So what is someone saying? Don't use a drop menu, because drop menu is a known design pattern. Don't use a checkbox, a radio button, a toggle, a segmented controller. Don't use sorts and filters. Yes, we have a lot of familiar design patterns. Some of them have been around since the 1980s or 1990s, and in many cases they work well because people instantly recognize them and know what to do. So why would you change something that's familiar to something that's unfamiliar, and then, as you said yourself, create cognitive load and potentially block people from quickly, accurately, correctly achieving their goals and tasks? Now, I'm also thinking there's a flip side to this question. I'm wondering if the person who asked it doesn't really think that they should be creating this type of innovation. I'm wondering if this was something that was said to them at their job. I'm wondering if a product manager or engineer looked at their designs and said, oh, you're just using the same old design patterns. You're not being innovative. And I would say, please show them this video. Get the link. This is on YouTube in CXCC. You can see on the screen, youtube.com/@CX-CC. Right after this stream ends, it'll be in the Q&A playlist. You can easily find it. You can find the point at which we started answering your question, and you can send it to your coworkers. Innovation, I can't get wrapped up in innovation when we're not doing simple things right. We don't understand our target audiences. We don't take the time to get to know them. We make up what problems they have. We make up what solutions are going to solve the made up problems. I can't get caught up in how innovative are you when I've never heard someone say to me, I just quit that freaking company. I finally got away from them. They just weren't innovative enough. Said no one ever. And so I would say, look, you don't want to rip off another company's page or design, because they probably haven't done a great design. But when it comes to design patterns, components, and things like that, they're standards for a reason, and you can consider inventing a new standard if you'd like, but as you said, consider the cognitive goal, the cognitive load, and the idea that users might look at it and go, what is this? Nick, back to you.
Yeah, Debbie said it earlier. What kind of outcome do you want, right? Do you want to innovate or do you want a successful outcome, basically?
It's like when everybody put Flash on their sites. Remember when everyone put Flash on their sites and suddenly there wasn't a simple button on the homepage anymore? It had to be an animated waterfall of candy and you had to pick the right candy to go to the next page. You know, was that innovative? Maybe. Did someone give that a creativity award? Maybe. Was that easy to use and a positive experience? Not really.
Try innovating with the QWERTY keyboard. Everybody's tried the Dvorak and 1,000 other attempts.
I love Colmac.
Oh. Okay, but we've still got Chord and the rest. But we've still got QWERTY keyboards in front of us in an era of touchscreens and AI and, you know, all direct manipulation, all kinds of stuff. Why is that? Because it works, and there's other big like skill-based stuff. But the point being is that typing the outcome is the most important thing. If it wasn't the most important thing, people would learn the new skills to have a more efficient keyboard, but they don't, right? So the point is that innovation in some areas is just not appropriate. You know, there are standard, like the keyboard standard, the QWERTY or whatever the variant is in your world, is as standard as it's going to get, given it's a global language. There's global languages to manage, and so yeah, innovation for bloody minded innovation is just stupid. I think that's the bottom line I think the underline to this question.
Yeah, and I'm actually in the process of writing an article that'll come out probably in the next month about something along these lines, though taking a different angle. I wish I had a question I could put up for Nick to answer while I go run to another room in my house and grab something to make a point. So, Nick, kill 1 minute of time while I go grab something to make a point.
Oh, cool. I'll do my stand-up act, which I've wanted to do for ages. No, I'm only kidding, because I would love to do like a Bill Hicks style UX stand-up comedy kind of thing, either at conference or recorded. I just don't know if I'd be that funny or if I'd just be really offensive and upset the whole world. So there's that. Anyway, innovation. Innovation is one of those bugbears that it's a nightmare, because you want to innovate and people feel this need to innovate. And there are times when you're at a company and they're doing boring stuff, that innovation is an idea, but you have to consider, is this appropriate? Sometimes it's worth trying to innovate just to learn that it wasn't worth it. But other times it's just not worth trying, because there are industrial standards, there are mental model standards, cultural standards, other great reasons. For example, in the UK government, we have the Government Design System, GDS. It is a pattern library of approved, accessible stuff. Everything that we build in GDS generally uses this design library, the design system. It means that any person of most needs, be it physical, cognitive, or otherwise, can still do their tax return, get their pension payout, or whatever else is going on with the government, because it's all familiar, known, and most importantly, tested, right? When stuff goes into that library, it's thoroughly tested under a number of different conditions to make sure that it works, and then it's approved and goes in. Anyway, Deb's back.
I'm back. This might be a little hard given the size of people's screens, and we don't have any more questions after this, so if anybody wants to ask any, please do. I'm going to flash something quickly on the screen, and I want you to tell me what it is. What am I holding? What does that look like?
Do you want me to say, or should I wait?
Yeah. What do you? And people type it in the chat. What do you think that was, based on its shape?
I think that was a yogurt or a probiotic.
Okay, that's exactly the point that I'm trying to make in my article. Thank you for saying that. This is shampoo.
GTFO. Right, yep. I get it now. Yeah.
So I'm gonna be writing an article about how, is this creative packaging? Maybe. Is this dangerous to children and low language people who don't know all the words on this? Maybe. Does it smell like something you'd want to drink? Yes.
Okay, but that first mouthful or first sip is going to tell anybody, even a kid, yikes, this ain't a drinkable.
Now look at the icon that's on the top of the cap. The thing you're going to cover with your hand when you open it.
Not for human consumption. Yeah.
So it's got a
Great.
it's a full body of a person doing this, and it's got a no sign, and it says in Italian, "Don't ingest."
Yeah. Because
Now, of course,
basically,
that's a much higher word than "don't drink." Don't ingest. Shelly
Yeah.
says, I have a question. I think it's too long. Where can I type in the anonymous page? Yeah, just go to deltacx.com/links. And on the links page, you'll see how to submit a question for Q&A AMA. And it's just an anonymous survey form, and it'll go right to my email. Ana Lucia says, it looks like the egg whites package I saw at the supermarket. Yep, this is shampoo, and the conditioner comes in the same bottle. But Nick's totally right. This is typically a bottle that has yogurt, fruit juices, smoothies.
Yeah, and the point being is because shampoos and all of this stuff in hair care is all fruit oils, and that's how they're selling this stuff these days. They're obviously mixing the metaphors, or whatever you call that, to say, let's put shampoo in a fruit bottle because it'll give it more fruitiness. And that's what the designers at the agency came up with. They didn't do, and there's no UX thinking in that. And this is a really good example, because I can make it look super fruity, but I'm not thinking about users, like Debbie said, a child and low English, etc., who somebody's going to pick it up and go, wow, that's a fruity thing, and take a chug. Obviously, well, I would like to believe the contents of a shampoo just taste nasty and don't do any real harm.
I haven't tasted
it. Is it potentially could. No, yeah, and that's not for science, hey? But it probably wouldn't be that bad. It would just taste nasty and wouldn't kill you, because, let's face it, it's shampoo. If it has to go on your body, your skin is the biggest organ. It's probably going to get absorbed, etc. It can't be super bad, right?
And look again. So 96% natural ingredients. They're calling it hair food. So it's got the word food on it. And then this is Italian for cocoa butter. And the matching conditioner that I have is all coconut. So everything on it says coconut. It smells like coconut. You would absolutely think that you could drink this. And so I'm working on an article about how there are so many paradigms that get stuck in our heads as having a certain meaning, like whether it's egg whites or yogurts or fruit. This looks like food, and obviously they knew that when they chose this packaging because someone thought they were super clever, but then the lawyers dropped by and said, okay, now you have to write don't ingest on it.
Yes. Yes, something like that. What they were really saying is, it's like saying, I've built a thing and I'm going to release it untested. And then somebody goes, wait a minute, kids are drinking this shit. You've made it too fruity. We've got to then fix it. So it's like every other public terminal or kiosk that you've ever used has got, Post-it stuck on it, or taps that say don't turn it this way, because the design hasn't been tested, then they haven't iterated it, and then you've had to, after the fact, fix it with a horrible, ugly label that ruins the whole visual design. Basically.
Oh, it even says it's vegan on the bottom. Like, really, there's so many clues here that would make you think you could eat this. Natural ingredients, food, cocoa butter, vegan. Why not? Bottoms up, kids. Add a little vodka.
Well, yeah.
All right, I think we got our promised long question. Hey, this wasn't so long. All right, so thanks for playing along with my bottle there, Nick. You can see why I'm writing an article on that.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so this question, let me make the font a little smaller so it all fits on the screen. Here we go. I'll be consulting for a small company for the first time, and I'm still somewhat early in my career, 3 years experience, with the goal to develop my strategic thinking and build my foundational research portfolio. This will also be my first time being a UXR team of one. Curious if you have advice for how to come into a small business as a true research partner to the company. An example of something this team is looking to understand is their customer retention. Their churn is too high, but they don't know why people churn or why people stick with them. Oh, I think Nick and I can hit this out of the park. Nick, you first.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think this sounds like an excellent move. It's going to really help you grow. It feels to me about exactly the right sort of time to be kind of going out on your own and facing the cold, dark UX world or digital world on your own, because you've got enough experience under your belt, 3 years, and there's plenty of growth there to do, but you've got a pretty good platform to learn from. Obviously, this company has probably never ever spoken to a user, is using tools and analytics
Survey
and all
City.
the other stuff. If you're a regular listener, you would have heard me use this analogy before. It's like flying an airplane and only looking down at the dials, and you're not flying the airplane by looking out the window. Or driving the car. You're driving by dashboard. That's a very limited view of the world. You want to see what's going on outside, and lots of marketing-driven companies, which is frankly most of them, or lots of them. Don't talk to users and looking through this lens of like quants or really bad quants through some of these things. So they don't know about user needs. They don't know about pain points. They don't really think in journeys. I'm going to make some reasonable assumptions that this sounds like some kind of an e-commerce brand potentially, or some kind of sign up and keep them kind of a brand. I don't know, but it's somewhere in that region. The first thing, how to come in. I think the center of your question is curious if you have advice for how to come into a small business as a true research partner to the company. And I'm going to kind of quote Ari Zelmano here. It's that trusted advisor role that you are there to play, especially when you're the consultant team of one, because it's all about what you're doing. Now, when you're a team of one, you also tend to be as much of a practitioner as well as a consultant, because you're playing both roles. You're the strategic, you're the client partner, you're the planner, you're all of that, and you're also the goer and doer, generally speaking. Get in front of users, understand what they're doing. More importantly, watch what they're doing rather than interview them or send them bloody surveys or panels or whatever self-reported shenanigans is going on. It's really simple. The whole world for the past X amount of years has been overcomplicating behavioral or user research by doing depth interviews for an hour or 2 hours. It's too long. If you can get a person in 30 minutes to show you them buying your product or whatever they're doing, or going up to the point of sale or something, I don't know the context of what you're trying to achieve, but get them to do it. Don't get them to spend actual money, but get them to do it. Get people who have recently just signed up because they're fresh and they will remember that experience. Get people who have been with the brand for 20 years or, the veterans. Get everybody. Keep doing it. Don't stop. Keep until you start not hearing anything new. And it sounds to me that might be some time away. So don't worry about that. Get stuck in, talk to people, the magic will happen.
And before I talk about some other things that I want to add to that, because it's hard to disagree with that, a person who asked the question, Shelley, said, yes, it's e-commerce in medical supplies. Shelley, please remember that if you join our free communities, the Slack and the Discord, you've got me and lots of other people there who are happy to support you and answer your questions and so on. I do free coaching, I do paid coaching, but I would say especially if you are a little nervous about planning your first study, just find me and let's take a look at your study plan. I'm happy to give you a little help for free and help you push your boat out. So thing one, know that you're a UX team of one, but you're not alone. And so in addition to the answers for that Nick gave, what I would say is, first of all, I'm not afraid. A lot of my sessions with participants are 1 hour. So while Nick is right that sometimes you don't need a full hour with people, depending upon what you're trying to learn, I wouldn't be surprised if here you might, just because if it really is the first time that they're talking more in depth to people and watching them do certain things, it just might take time. And so, the length of the interview should be whatever is appropriate, and make sure you're paying these people for their time. Don't give them $20. You're trying to fix a broken company, and they deserve a lot more. So this is not a $20 participant incentive, but what I would be looking at probably is that full kind of true end-to-end journey from almost that service blueprinting perspective. So what goes on internally at your customers' companies that make them realize they need to order some supplies? Is it something they do regularly? Is it something they do and they notice they're running low? What triggers? We've talked about this before. It's in my book, and I think I took down. No, here it is. Here's my. Okay, so what triggers the people to need your company or something like that? Then we've got, how do they decide who they're going to shop with? That's what I like to call the orbit. They're looking at different companies. Maybe they're doing Google searches or comparing catalogs that they have. You never know how people are doing it until you talk to them and you watch them do it. So how do they pick different vendors in this space? What are their decision-making criteria? Is the person doing the ordering the person who also makes some of these decisions? Sometimes it's not. Find out how the decision is made, find out who the collaborators are and who controls the budget. Then they're in your ecosystem. They're on your site, they're talking to your salespeople, they're putting stuff in their cart, they're putting together their order, and then of course they take some sort of action, which is they abandon the cart or they buy the stuff. But obviously that's not the only task or journey in doing business with your company. In the larger customer experience universe, there's going to be more tasks and more journeys, or that we can make into a service blueprint or whatever, where now they're waiting for the products. Then they get the products. Was the order correct? Was the quality what they expected? Whether that was low, medium, high quality based on what they ordered. So there's so much to look at, because it's going to, my guess would be, especially if you are medical equipment, medical supplies, it's going to be a lot more than a digital experience. You can't just look at it as, how do they like our website? Is the website good? Could they do a checkout? There's probably stuff happening before they ever get to the website that can control whether or not they choose to do business with you. And then there's certainly stuff that happens after that can turn them off or make them say, this is the last time we're ordering from these dicks. And so you've got to find out that stuff. Nick wants to jump in. So I've got a lot more I could say, but Nick, go ahead.
No, just quickly. I mean, what I would do is I'd quickly go in, get some headline analytics just to get some ideas together. Look at the dropout funnel, or create a dropout funnel to find out where this stuff is happening when they hit your site. Look at new versus returning to see what's happening. The reason why I'm saying this is often, and it's particularly in the medical community or medical devices, medical stuff, it can be very, very price driven. It can be also supplier list and all of that stuff driven too, for sure. What Debbie was saying, 100%. But often there is no loyalty because of the price. People will go where the price is because we're talking about budgets. That might be just a UK NHS socialized healthcare thing, or might be global, and so. But just bear that in mind, because when you're trying to make sense of this matrix of crazy numbers and behaviors and trying to work out what's going on, that inexplicable behavior, which you can't read in the numbers or anything else, is possibly price comparison type behavior, right? So look where they're bouncing out and see if that supports your hypothesis. But more importantly, just get that stuff together and then go involve people, watch them doing stuff, and you'll, I think, quite quickly start to understand. People go, oh yeah, well, I only come here to check the price and then go away, and I'll only proceed down the funnel to buy it if it's within a certain boundary, blah blah blah. And that changes every quarter with my budget, and so therefore blah blah blah, unpredictable. Something in that world is definitely worth exploring just in case.
Absolutely. So the digital piece is just going to be a piece of it. It could even be as simple as, oh, your checkout only accepts credit cards, and we expect people to go into our vendor database and submit an invoice and give us 45-day terms to pay it with a paper check, and then they don't want to buy from you because you just had a credit card checkout, which of course I'm guessing and making up. But there are so many moments and micro moments where we can lose a customer or start to chip away at any trust we've developed from them or things like that. So, Oh, sorry. It's just a reminder of something I need to do in 15 minutes, but we'll be done anyway. So, Shelly, thank you for the question. Please do lean on me, especially with a new consulting job, and congratulations. And behind the scenes, you're welcome to lean on me a little bit if I can help you plan some of these studies or deal with some of this stuff. Because again, you might be the UXR team of one there, but you know you've got the Delta CX community and me behind you if you, need to talk it out. So, let me just see quickly. Yeah, you've got to understand why people churn and why people stick with them. So if you're comfortable starting to write that research plan, get on it. But I would love to see it and maybe help you make it better.
Yeah. Also, so many times on loads of funnels that I've worked on, there is a bounce, or there is a dropout rate because people cannot find a specific information about that product, right? So I need to know the inner width of it, or something like that. You know what I mean? A dimension, or a size, or something like that. And the price was good, everything else was good, there was no problems, but they just couldn't find what they were looking for. They had a need that was unmet.
It can even be, when is this shipping? Where is it shipping from? When am I likely to get it? Even these are simple things. Yeah, because I've also worked on a lot of e-commerce in my years. Not a little bit of medical, but not necessarily a lot of it. And you can definitely lose people. Remember, the moment people have frustration, confusion, disappointment, or distraction, we have probably created a universe in which they are starting to lose trust for us, and might be not wanting to come back again, or thinking twice about that. Shelley says, thanks to both of your advice and input. We'll join the Discord and Slack. Much appreciated. Ana Lucia says, as someone who worked in healthcare, I would say interviewing people working in operations would be really productive. Try to understand why and how they make decisions. Yeah, and remember that sometimes the person ordering on the website is not the person who controls the budget or makes decisions or stuff like that. So these things can be very complicated. It's much more complicated than Debbie goes to Amazon and buys a new packing cube for her travels. These things are much more complicated with a lot of levels of sometimes decisions and approvals. Ana Lucia says, that's something I haven't seen many people talking about, Dr. Nick. Sometimes doctors can have special specifications, especially surgeons, and they ask operations to buy the products they need. Yeah, so lots of great questions here about why people are churning. And again, sometimes some of the problem is digital, website, messaging, clarity, details. And sometimes it's things that happen outside of the website. Slow shipping, box came damaged, item wasn't what I ordered, customer support were dicks to talk to, salesman too pushy. There's all kinds of digital and non-digital things that can drive people away. And I think you would be smart to plan the study that will start to kind of map all of these. All right.
One thing that you need to consider, though, this is not a pure e-commerce play by any stretch, because of the nature of your business and the industry that you're in. Supply chain and procurement are both really important factors in your world.
I spent
logistics. 18 months. Yeah, it's so huge because there are laws, regulations, frameworks, stuff. Public money versus private money. It gets complicated. You will definitely need to get to the bottom of that to start to characterize your different kinds of buyers or visitors to your website, or users of your brand, or whatever you want to call that. Because it's not going to be, people bounced because they couldn't find the buy button. It's never going to be as simple as that. There's almost likely to be 3 or 4 really good reasons that explains the dropout rate in its entirety. You'll get there, just step by step.
And I'm also curious, just from the nature of your business, if there's ever anybody who doesn't even see your website. And I only think of that because of something we just bought at our house. Some of you have been fans of the show long enough, and I thank you. Dr. Nick will certainly remember the times when the power went out in my house and the show was over. And so we just bought a 5 kilowatt hour battery and we're waiting for our electrician to schedule coming to literally route all of the power to our house through this battery and then back into the house. So hypothetically, if there are, because sometimes when the power goes out and the show ends, the power's out for 2 minutes, but that's it, the show's dead, and so on. And my internet's rebooting, I'm going to need 10 minutes for that. So I spent let's just say an extremely noticeable amount of money, it still hurts, to get this system. I didn't deal with the website at all. I went to the company. Oh, and Ana Lucia says it's really bad if the product isn't certified. It could put hospitals and institutions' certifications at risk. It should be quite clear. Yeah, it's another great one. So I'm thinking about the experience I had. I went to I looked at the thing I wanted to buy, and there was no buy button. It said, put in a request. My request went to a reseller, because the company doesn't sell products this big directly to consumers. They have resellers. I got a reseller on mainland Italy, and I looked at their website, and it was all like giant industrial equipment. And so I was like, what's it going to be like to deal with this guy? And over email, he was lovely, absolutely lovely. And he gave me a really good price. And he gave me a price that was even slightly lower than the manufacturer's website. It included shipping, and it was shipped December 27, which I was really impressed by, because I expected the company to be closed between Christmas and New Year's, but they shipped it December 27. Then I expected it to take 2 weeks because of the holidays. We got it December 29. We got it 2 days later, and we didn't even pay for express shipping. So I happened to have a good experience there, but notice I wasn't on a website at all. I was just dealing directly with some sort of salesperson, or maybe a co-owner of a small company. I don't even know. Francesco. And so all I know is I didn't even deal with the website. So you might want to make sure that you're looking if there's anybody who maybe even bypasses the website and puts orders in with salespeople. Shelly says, thanks, Anna, for the input. Yes, they aren't sure how people get to the website. They spend a lot on Google Ads. They get some transactions, not repeat customers. CFO thinks they are wasting money. Yeah, if you're not getting repeat customers, you also need to learn what makes someone buy again. Are they buying enough stuff that they don't need to buy from you for 6 months or a year? Or are they really turned off by you? Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, this is where marketing and UX interact. This is the confluence of those two things.
Confluence.
Could you put Shelley's comment back up again, just very quickly?
Oh, yeah, hold on. About the they're not sure how they get to the website?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay,
because
yeah.
There's a very specific thing in there. She says about...
Yeah, hold on. I have to do that manually.
Ad targeting.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Spend a lot on Google Ads, right? So you're the marketing folk are spending a lot on Google Ads. But if you don't understand the needs of your audience, how are you targeting that? What phraseology, what visuals, how are you doing it? Now, we can make a reasonable assumption they're getting it kind of right because people are clicking on it and they're coming to the site and then bouncing or not sticking around for very long. Now, that tells you there's either a bait and switch or the bait doesn't match the target. Now, common modern day screw up. Big one, this one. You're doom scrolling through whatever social media piece of shit that you're on, right? And there's an advert. And you think, oh, I love that thing. And you click on that thing. Now, the classic fail is to, instead of taking you through to the thing page, the product page for the thing,
drop you on the home
they take
page.
you through to the front page or somewhere else, or a campaign page or something effed up. And it gets that's when bounce happens. Because you're trying... Somebody in marketing is going, let's make them find it because then they're going to consume more pages. And that's completely stupid because what's happening is bounce. So make sure that A meets B kind of thing. If you're going to hold up a juicy attractor, make sure you deliver on the attractor on first click.
Oh yeah, so much to say about that. This for sure. It's always interesting when the marketing people start saying, "Ooh, we're going to bump up the SEO. Ooh, we're going to bump up more Google Ads and stuff like that." And then you see the outcome of that, and you will make some sales. But if you're not making many sales, and they're not coming back, something's definitely broken. Now, again, it's hard to know if it's the website, though it almost always is. Websites suck. But as Nick pointed out, it could be pricing, it could be shipping, or it could be I have no idea how you ship, or I really need express shipping for this. You don't offer express shipping. There's so much that can be learned when you start doing research. And I think to get a really good response from this, you can't just talk to 5 or 10 people. I think you're going to have to talk to a larger group of people to figure out the different needs different groups of people have. Nick?
Yeah, and Shelley, one of those things to your earlier point, I think your original question was about being that kind of business consultant to the team. One of the best ways you can do this is get stuck, in my humble opinion, get stuck in really early and report back frequently, right? As Debbie's saying, you're going to need quite a number of people. This isn't a 5 or 10 or even 20 kind of person study. This is probably, 50, 60 or more maybe. Over time, doing 5 at a time, week on week, sprint on sprint, building out your knowledge and refining and iterating. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Well, I'm going to jump in there for a moment and just say you don't. Nick and I do tend to have some different techniques here. So I'm also going to say that when I do studies with large numbers of people, there are times where I've done them in groups. Like when we did the large Etsy study, we did 12 every couple of weeks, and so we did them in these groups based on the target segment. So it was like one target segment, and then we would move on, do a little mini report and move on. But at my job now, we're doing large groups all at once, and that's because I'm not a team of 1, I'm a team of 3, but we are doing 20. We did 20 interviews just before Christmas over 3 days, 1 hour each, the 3 of us. We did, thank you, Kayleen and Sirocco. We've got 60 planned for the next leg of our study, and we're going to do those 60 probably within 3-4 weeks. And so, gong reminds us to end the show. But so yes, you can certainly do it Nick's way, where you're meeting small people in a repeating cadence. But sometimes I like to just meet a giant fuck off mountain of people and then try to make sense of what a large, amount of data is telling me. Nick, something to add before we say goodbyes?
No, it was just that reporting back, actually, that trusted advisor, that role that you want them to start to perceive you as you're doing this, if you're doing it a big chunk or whatever, report back so far on the basis of this, and you bookend it, saying, listen, these are not hard insights, but this is where it's looking at the moment. You'll have to use your own judgment as to whether that's a good idea, or that can be a really bad idea, because people go, great, that's insight, and run away with it and build stuff, which is obviously a really bad idea. Finally, with the marketing issue that you have, cost of acquisition, COA. If they're spending big money bidding for Google terms, then it bloody well, you better be driven by some kind of an insight or a need or a pain, because you're spending good money on that stuff. So the cost of acquisition will go down, and that's your argument to the marketing person, is hold your horses, let me understand what you want to say before you start bidding on that stuff. Then you'll get much better accuracy and a lower COA, and they'll love you forever.
Love it. Thank you so much, Nick, for all that great advice, everything today, and especially that last question. We have Nick back once a month on the second Tuesday of every month, so don't forget to join in. The Q&A AMA has a new schedule for 2024. On some of the days when Nick is not here, I will be doing this show at 11 p.m. Italy time, 10 p.m. London time, 5 p.m. New York time, just to try to get more of our North and South America friends, because now that we've been doing it at 3 p.m. Italy time, y'all are still asleep. So we're going to mix and match and do some midday Italy ones and some late Italy ones to try to get a little bit of everybody. Thank you, Shelley, for joining. So, all right, I'm going to play us out of here. But before I do, Nick, any last words or where people can connect with you?
All good. I'm quiet on LinkedIn at the moment. I'm just so busy in so many different projects, and my life is just busy. And honestly, I've had a break from social media since before Christmas, and I feel great for it. I'm not running to go back to it, if I'm brutally honest. But I'm around. You can get hold of me on LinkedIn or via Debbie, the usual stuff. So yeah, good to be back. Hope you guys are good, and I'm happy to do a late night session for Americans and stuff in the future. Whatever works.
Oh, great. Okay. So I'll make a note of that and we'll figure it out. Maybe we can kind of do, windshield wipers, a 2 p.m. London time, a 10 p.m. London time, mix it up a bit so that we can get more people in more time zones, getting to know the Dr. Nick live, the Nickster, as we say. Okay. So thanks again, everybody. Be well. Again, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave comments under videos. It really helps in the algorithm. Check out the events calendar. I am scheduling webinars wildly, and they're not going to be live on YouTube. They're going to be live on Google Meet and recorded, given to our paid Patreon members for 2 weeks, and then put up on YouTube. So if you love to get stuff early and before everybody else, join the Patreon for even $1 American a month. We've got some special stuff for you, and we've got almost 200 people joined to the Patreon. So thank you to everybody who's been supporting us. All right, I'm going to say goodbye. We haven't scheduled too many shows for January, so the next show is probably not going to be next Tuesday because I'm taking a long weekend vacation with a friend. So we're probably going to miss next week's office hours. Sorry about that. But I will see everybody on Monday, the 22nd of January at 11 p.m. Italy time. I will be doing a live webinar on Google Meet, and that one is called, "Do We Want to Mitigate Risk But Not Seek Truth?" And I'm going to read my new article of that title, and we're going to turn it into a discussion. All right, I'm going to play us out of here. Thanks again. Thanks, Nick. See you later.
Bye, guys.